In a time when the light of Islam began to stretch beyond Arabia, it reached toward the ancient civilizations of the world. After the liberation of Jerusalem, Caliph Umar ibn al-Khattab turned his gaze westward to the mighty land of Egypt. This wasn't just any country. Egypt was the cradle of pharaohs, a land of pyramids and prophets, ruled for centuries by the Byzantine Empire. Its people were burdened by heavy taxes and oppression. Yet within its heart, whispers of the divine still lingered, echoes of Musa, who had walked its sands, and of the Nile that had carried the infant destined to challenge a tyrant. Among the prophet's companions stood a man of brilliant strategy and vision, Omar ibn al-As. Once a staunch opponent of Islam, he had embraced its truth with his entire being. Known for his sharp command and diplomatic genius, he saw Egypt not as a prize to be won, but as an opportunity, a land where Islam could shine as a beacon of justice and mercy. Omar approached Caliph Umar with a bold proposal, to march into Egypt. Umar was hesitant. The empire was vast, its armies were seasoned, and the Muslim forces were already engaged across Syria and Iraq. But Omar's conviction was unyielding. "O Commander of the Faithful," he declared, "if Allah grants us victory, Egypt will become a fortress for Islam and a bridge to Africa." Reluctantly, Umar gave his permission. But before a formal letter of command could even be written, Omar and his small army had already crossed into Egyptian territory. When Umar's messenger finally caught up, Omar cleverly gathered his men. "We will camp tonight where we are," he announced. The next morning, having officially entered Egypt, he told them, "We are already in Egypt. If Umar's letter commands us to advance, we obey. If it commands us to return, we are already where Allah has brought us." And so began one of the most remarkable campaigns in history. Omar's army numbered just 4,000 men, warriors driven by faith, not imperial ambition. They marched across the scorching desert toward Pelusium, the gateway to Egypt. The Byzantines, overconfident in their massive walls and large garrisons, completely underestimated these desert soldiers. But Omar's men fought with a courage and faith that defied numbers. After fierce clashes, the fortress fell. News spread like wildfire across the Nile Delta. The Muslims had arrived, and they fought not for plunder, but for a purpose. The campaign pushed deeper into Egypt, toward Heliopolis, the ancient city of the sun. There, Omar faced the Byzantine general Theodorus, whose army dwarfed his own. Yet strategy and faith once again triumphed over sheer numbers. Omar masterfully divided his forces, launching surprise attacks from unexpected directions and striking swiftly before the Byzantines could regroup. The battle was brutal but decisive. Theodorus fled, leaving Heliopolis in Muslim hands. This victory sent shockwaves through Egypt. The oppressed Coptic Christians began to see the Muslims not as invaders, but as liberators from Byzantine tyranny. But the greatest challenge still lay ahead: the fortress of Babylon, near modern-day Cairo. Its colossal stone walls soared into the sky, protected by deep trenches and thousands of guards. Omar knew a direct assault would be a costly failure. Instead, he initiated a long siege, cutting off supplies and sending envoys to nearby towns to win their support. Months passed. The Nile rose and fell, but Omar's resolve never wavered. He bolstered his men's spirits with words of faith. Victory comes not from numbers or walls, but from the heart that trusts in Allah. Finally, reinforcements arrived, led by none other than Zubair ibn al-Awwam, one of the 10 promised paradise. His courage was legendary, his faith unshakable. In a daring night assault, Zubair himself scaled the fortress walls, single-handedly opening the gates for the Muslim army. The fortress of Babylon fell, and with it, the backbone of Byzantine power in Egypt crumbled. The Muslims entered the city with incredible discipline and honor. There was no looting, no burning, no acts of revenge. The people were offered peace in exchange for a fair tax, and those who chose to embrace Islam were welcomed as brothers. Next, Omar marched toward Alexandria, the jewel of the Mediterranean, a city of scholars, palaces, and ancient wonders. The Byzantines gathered their remaining forces for one last desperate stand. For months, the two armies clashed in the blistering heat of the coastal plains. Arrows darkened the sky, and the clang of swords echoed through the ancient ruins, but the tide of faith could not be turned. In one decisive charge, Omar's cavalry shattered the Byzantine lines, forcing their general to flee to the sea. In the year 641, Alexandria fell, and with it, Egypt became part of the growing realm of Islam. When the news reached Caliph Umar in Medina, he did not celebrate with pride. Instead, he wept and thanked Allah. "If the people of Egypt are treated with justice," he said, "then we have truly conquered them." Umar instructed Umar to govern with mercy, not might. And Umar fulfilled that sacred trust. He founded Fustat, the first Islamic city in Africa, which blossomed into a center of learning, trade, and worship. The great mosque he built there, Masjid Amr ibn al-As, still stands today, the oldest mosque in all of Egypt, a living monument to that era of faith. Under Muslim rule, the people of Egypt found a peace they hadn't known for centuries. The Copts, long persecuted by their former rulers, were granted the freedom to worship as they pleased. Oppressive taxes were lightened, trade flourished, and knowledge flowed freely. The Nile, once a symbol of a pharaoh's arrogance, now became a river of prosperity and faith for all. Historians, both Muslim and non-Muslim, have recorded Amr ibn al-Az's remarkable fairness. He repaired vital irrigation systems, abolished unjust taxes, and established treaties that guaranteed the safety of the people. When a famine struck Arabia, it was Egypt under Amr's leadership that sent shiploads of grain to feed the people of Medina. Egypt became not a colony, but a cornerstone of the Islamic world. The conquest of Egypt was far more than a military triumph. It was a spiritual transformation. It proved that Islam could unite hearts as well as lands, and that justice could succeed where tyranny had failed for so long. Amr ibn al-As, once one of the Prophet's fiercest enemies, now stood as one of the greatest bearers of his message. His journey from opposition to devotion mirrored the journey of Egypt itself, from darkness into a divine light. Years later, as Amr walked through the bustling streets of Fustat, he saw Muslims and Copts trading side by side, mosques and churches standing in peace, the sounds of prayer and bells mingling in harmony. He turned to his companions and said, "This is the Egypt that Allah promised would be a land of safety and provision. Indeed, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, had foretold, 'You will conquer Egypt. So treat its people well, for they have protection and kinship with you.'" From the heart of the desert to the banks of the majestic Nile, the banner of Islam was raised not through oppression, but through conviction, compassion, and courage. The conquest of Egypt became a turning point in history, a meeting of civilizations, a triumph of faith over fear. And at its heart stood a man who had once fought against Islam, now fighting for it with every breath, Amr ibn al-As, the conqueror not of land, but of hearts. If this story inspired you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And be sure to hit that bell icon so you never miss our next video. Thank you for watching.